stopping spending like we were drunken sailors. Actually, we're worse than drunken sailors, because drunken sailors stop spending when they run out of money, and Congress doesn't. And we can help by changing our ways in that respect.
It is the moment the elites in Washington feared most. While the average American struggles to put food on the table, billions of your hard-earned dollars are vanishing into a black hole of foreign aid and government waste. But today, the game is officially over. Senator John Kennedy just walked into the room with the receipts. He didn't just ask questions, he delivered a masterclass in savage accountability. From the drunk sailor spending in D.C. to the ultimate betrayal of the middle class, Kennedy is dismantling the system, piece by piece. The room went silent. The officials panicked. And for the first time in 25 years, the truth was finally caught red-handed on camera. You are about to witness the most brutal takedown in Senate history. But before we reveal the final blow, hit that subscribe button if you think Kennedy is the only one speaking for the people. Buckle up, because it's finally over. Let's get into it.
Mr. Grime, am I saying your name right?
You are, Senator.
You argued the Calais case?
I did.
Okay, I'm going to tell you my understanding of the case, and then Mr. Cox, I'm going to ask you to tell me if Mr. Grime got it right, and Mr. Chamberlain, you can chime in if you would like. Are you familiar, Mr. Grime, with the Students for Fair Admissions case?
I am.
Okay, that's the case recently where the Supreme Court said you can't use race in college admissions. Now, here's what I heard the Supreme Court say in that case. I heard the Supreme Court say, look, colleges, we're not going to get into the admissions business. That's your business. We're just telling you you can't use race as a factor to admit anybody. Is that your understanding of the case?
Basically, yes, and they did a whole 14th Amendment.
Don't try to muddy the water to make it look deep, guys. I know you're all smart. I'm just trying to get to the bottom line. Am I wrong or right?
You're right.
Okay. Now, the way I read Calais is the Supreme Court is saying, look, first of all, these are political questions. And we're not going to tell the states how to draw congressional districts. We don't want to be in that business. That's a political question. We're just saying you can't use race as a factor. Is that what they did in Calais, or am I misunderstanding it?
That's basically it. You can use it to remedy, past discrimination that you've proven. But that wasn't the case in the Calais case. The other side didn't prove it.
Well, but once again, you're muddying that water, man. Did the court, or did it not, say that you can't use race to draw a congressional district?
In most cases, you can't unless the state, the person defending the map, shows that they had to use it because there was a showing of immediately past intentional discrimination, that they had to use race to unwind.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me whether he got it right, Mr. Cox.
Senator, quite frankly, the defense of the Calais case is such a tortured exercise. It's
Mr.
difficult.
Cox, I don't want to hear.
So I'm going to tell you what SFFA, how SFFA applies to Calais.
Did he get it right, or
he did not get it right? Okay. So under application to discuss Calais, you have to really discuss what happened in the case that created the district that was challenged in Calais. That was Robinson.
Right.
The court required the state of Louisiana to redraw its plans pursuant to its findings of a Section 2 violation.
Look, I don't
That's
want to have a fight.
what justified the creation of the plan.
I don't want to have a fight. Can you just tell me, and you're smart, and I don't want to make this more complicated than it is. Tell me what he got right or wrong.
I'm telling you, what he got wrong was ignoring...
No, you're speaking like a lawyer, okay? And I'm tired of... I've listened to you gentlemen, okay? Let's just get down to it. Mr. Chamberlain, tell me what Mr. Grime got right or wrong.
He got it all right. You think I'm really going to tell the guy who argued and won Calais that he didn't understand what he was arguing?
Okay.
sorry, I'm totally respectful. But yeah, obviously, I think he's got a good handle on it.
I understand that, Mr. Cox. I don't mean to be rude, the importance of precedent and all that. But didn't the Supreme Court say, except in very narrow circumstances, you just can't use race to help a person, and you can't use race to harm a person? And that includes in drawing congressional districts.
In answering that question, I'm going to tell you that the Robinson Court, which gave rise to the district that was challenged in Calais, said that there was a violation of the Voting Rights Act, that it was required to draw a district or draw a redistricting plan that satisfied the Voting Rights Act, that allowed African Americans to elect candidates of choice.
You don't want to answer
that's
my
what was
question, do
challenged.
you, Mr. Cox?
I'm answering your question.
No, you're not.
It may be an answer that you don't
No,
like
you're
and my
not.
colleagues don't
No,
like,
you're not.
but I'm answering
You're
your
not.
question.
You're giving us another lecture, and this is not a common law class. Tell me in simple terms, is that not what the court said?
The court said a lot of things that were inaccurate. So that court said you can't use race at all in drawing plans. We disagree with that. But what the court really did was say that you can prove race you can prove there's intentional discrimination, which is in violation of this Congress's intent. It also sprinkled partisanship as a defense for any challenge to any challenge under Section 2.
All right, well, I'm about out of time. I can see, no disrespect, Mr. Cox, but you're not answering any of my questions. And I know you're disappointed in the decision. But let me put it another way. Do you think race should be used to help a person?
I don't understand that question. Race should be used to help a person?
Do you think race should be used to help a person?
I believe that if there is a racial violation of the law, that race discrimination, I believe a remedy that's race conscious can be required, yes.
Do you think race should be used to harm a person?
I don't really understand what that question
No, I
means.
didn't think you would. Mr. Chamberlain, do you think it's fair in America to use race to help a person at the expense of other races?
No.
Do you think it's fair in America to use race to hurt another person?
No.
How about you, Mr. Graham?
Absolutely not. Race should not be used to help or hurt an individual.
And no disrespect to Mr. Cox. He's very bright. I can see that. And I've been where you've been. You know, when you get in front of a court of appeal and you're losing, you know, you want to kind of obfuscate. I get it. But that to me is what the court's saying here in all these cases. We're not going to try to run your business. Not in the college admissions, not in drawn districts. But you can't use race. Period. End of discussion. And I think that's what the Constitution says and what most Americans support. I know you're disappointed, Mr. Cox.
I'm not disappointed, I'm outraged.
But that's what the Constitution says.
Well, can I add one more thing that's
Sure.
not quite exactly addressing what you asked? I do think there's a role for a co-equal branch of government, Congress, to make its own determination regarding how it wants its laws enforced. And I would urge this Congress to reconsider Calais in that light.
Yeah, but you and I are both aware that the United States Supreme Court has full authority to pass on the constitutionality of a statute. Come on, you know that. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
If Mobile versus Bolden is any example of what can and can't happen, this Congress can take a look at Calais and say, actually, you got it wrong. And you actually didn't interpret what we intended in 1982 correctly.
The problem with your argument is I don't think race should be used to help a person because of his race. And I don't think race should be used to harm a person because of his or her race. And I think that's what most Americans believe. And if you don't believe the opposite, and you clearly do, this is America. You can believe what you want. But the Supreme Court is deciding these cases.
I hear you.
Saying race is off the table.
I hear you. And I believe as a civil rights lawyer that if you find a violation based on race, you need to craft a that addresses that.
My biggest surprise from the summit between Presidents Trump and Xi was how open and notorious President Xi was with respect to his insecurity about Taiwan. I mean, before, during, after the summit, He basically said, America, President Trump need to leave Taiwan alone. Taiwan is ours. And President Xi has this reputation built up by many members of our media as being this master negotiator. I found that surprising. It's understandable. America has learned how to fight again. And I'm sure President Xi is looking at what President Trump did in Venezuela and Cuba and Iran and the Sahel and Yemen. Be that as it may, Mr. Xi has demonstrated and telegraphed his insecurities. That gives us leverage. Doesn't that argue for us to go forward with an arms sale to Taiwan and others after it? General, let me ask you first, or Secretary, whoever wants to answer.
Senator, the portion of it that I would strongly and very vehemently disagree with is that in any instance where President Trump is, he would concede anything unnecessarily. And so I
didn't ask that. If you can't answer, tell me, because I don't want anybody to get fired. It just seems to me, I was surprised that President Xi was so obvious in his insecurities. He's worried about Taiwan. He's worried about America supporting Taiwan. If we want stability, we're not going to get it by being nice to Xi. We're going to get it by making him respect our strength. Don't you think that argues for us to go forward with arms sales to Taiwan?
Senator, I can say that under this budget, this $1.5 trillion budget, we will be in an even stronger position to
That's not what
defend
I'm
our
asking,
allies.
Mr. Secretary.
It's a policy question that is above
not-
my Title X authority, Senator.
All right, well, let me ask you, let me shift direction. I don't think you have to be Einstein's cousin to figure out what we ought to do next in terms of establishing deterrence, but maybe that's just me. Is Russia our friend?
No.
Between Ukraine and Russia and the war they're fighting, who do we want to win?
Ukraine.
Okay. Isn't it a fact? Well, strike that. What's the most powerful army in Europe?
Sure, I'd say anywhere the United States soldier is.
I understand, other than the United States. What's the most powerful European army?
It's probably between Russia and some of our allies have some incredible army service.
Ukraine,
some
isn't it?
incredible capabilities.
It's Ukraine, isn't it?
Sure, Ukraine has done an incredible job against an aggressor.
Don't you find it breathtaking, General, what they've done? They started with nothing.
I do find it breathtaking.
And they're producing 200 drones a day in addition to cruise missiles to reach into Russia. They've taken out 40% of Russia's ability to export its oil. And they started with nothing. I remember when all the experts, who are almost always wrong, so Russia's going to move in on Ukraine. They're going to roll in like thunder on a summer night. It'll be over in 2 days. And now Ukraine has turned the tide. Why don't we support taking those $200 billion of Russian assets in Europe that we have seized and getting that money to Ukraine? And let's win this thing, or at least get Putin into a position where he'll negotiate a settlement. Would you support that?
Again, Senator, my Title X authorities, that's a policy question outside of our lane.
I mean, it just seems so. I'm not talking about federal money. There's $200 billion sitting there. Heck, there's UK. There's $31 billion in the UK alone. France, President Macron, swell guy. He's always giving us advice and fussing at us. France is sitting on $22 billion. Why don't they give that to Ukraine? They'll use the money to buy some of our weapons. It's just sitting there. If we want to win, why don't we support taking the $200+ billion and saying, here, Ukraine, here's the money. Go whip their ass. You don't want to answer that, do you, guys? I understand. I get it. I went over. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sheriff, I'm a little confused by some of the answers, but let me ask Senator Padilla's question a different way. In choosing a law clerk, do you believe that a law clerk applicant's race should be used to harm that person?
Neither to harm nor benefit, Senator. I believe that applicants should be considered based on their background and experience.
So you don't think a person's race should be used to harm them?
Correct, Senator.
You think a person's race should be used to help them?
Not in that context, Senator, no.
Okay. Raise your hand, please, for me if you're a dues-paying member of the American Bar Association. So 2 out of 6 are members. Judge Bissett, why aren't you a member?
Senator, I was a member for many years of the American Bar Association.
Why'd you get out?
Honestly, Senator, when I was a member, my law firm paid the dues.
Yeah.
And so I don't pay the dues for the American Bar Association, but I was very involved.
Find it
for many
irrelevant and not worth the money?
No, sir. As you know from my record, I actually co-chaired the section of litigation for a number of years, and I thought it was very beneficial as a lawyer.
But it wasn't important enough to you to pay yourself?
It wasn't so much that, Senator. It's just that many of the benefits of the American Bar Association, at least for judges, I'm already participating in what the administrative offices provide with training, which is really what I was doing as a lawyer.
So it was beneficial to you if somebody else paid for it?
No, sir. It's just that as a lawyer, I used it primarily for legal education.
Okay.
And as a judge.
I don't want to spend too much time on this. Just for the record, 2 out of 6 of our nominees today have chosen to be dues-paying members of the American Bar Association. Mr. Sheriff, how long have you been a member of the ACLU?
Senator, I believe I first contributed in 2019.
And how much money have you given them?
I believe it's approximately $100, $120.
And
a year, I'm sorry.
A year?
Yes.
Okay. And why did you first decide to contribute to them?
Senator, I contribute to
just briefly
charitable organizations. They work on First Amendment issues.
Yeah. Now, you're a member of the ACLU of Southern California.
That's correct.
All right. A couple years ago, the ACLU of Southern California put out a statement. They said that U.S. policing has, quote, historical roots in slave patrols, close quote. And the ACLU chapter of Southern California went on to say that police presence has, quote, devastating and discriminatory impacts on tens of thousands of California students, close quote. You agree with that?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that letter. I have never seen that letter.
But I just read it to you. You agree with what that letter said?
I don't have information relevant to that.
You don't agree with it, or you do agree with it?
I can talk to my experience in law enforcement.
No, sir, I'm asking you if you agree or disagree with the statement of an organization that you chose to join.
Right, Senator.
As an assistant United States attorney.
I understand, Senator. I would have to know a lot more about where that comes from in order to evaluate it.
Well, you're not doubting that I'm reading it to you accurately, are you?
No, I'm not, but I don't know what the basis for that information is
The
in the letter.
ACLU of Southern California also put out another statement. They said, quote, ICE is not welcome here, close quote. Do you agree with that statement?
Senator, nearly 20 years in my practice in the Eastern District of California, the office has worked closely with ICE.
Do you agree with that statement?
Certainly, in terms of federal law enforcement, ICE is welcome, and we work closely with.
Maybe I'm not being clear. Do you agree or disagree with the statement that ICE should be welcome in California?
I believe that ICE carries out a legitimate legitimate function under federal law.
I understand. Give me one more minute, Mr. Chairman. Let me ask Mr. Leibowitz. I want to ask you, it's a constitutional question. I think we now understand that there's some people in America, and I dare say many of our college students and college professors who believe, my words, not theirs, but this is what I see, who believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, and the right to kill Jews. To what extent is that point of view protected by the Constitution, and what, if any, limits are there on that point of view?
Senator, I very much appreciate the question, especially the times that we're living in. First, as your former colleague and now the president of one of the great universities in this country, the University of Florida, said that the First Amendment gives people the absolute right to be abject moral idiots. And Senator Ben Sasse, now President Sasse.
So does the Senate.
So I take part of your question that since October the 7th, I think part of what you were saying is that people are taking full advantage of their First Amendment rights. And the basic dividing line in answering your question, as I understand the court's precedents and the First Amendment, is that there's a very big difference between speech and conduct. There's a very big difference between things like Title VI, Title VII.
Let me stop you because I don't want to go too far over.
Yes.
I think you've made the correct distinction between speech and conduct. If I could have just 30 more seconds. Could the U.S. Department of Education, if a college professor crosses that line between speech and conduct, could President Biden's Department of Education withhold their federal funding?
Senator, I'm going to only be able to quickly answer part of your question. First of all, I do believe that part of the way you phrased it, I'm precluded from answering it because of the canons of judicial ethics, because there are live cases now and live statements now, as I understand it. There are live cases being brought under federal law tracking exactly what you're saying, and I'm not sure if the President's Department of Education wants to weigh into that or not, but if they did, and that case came before me, I wouldn't want my comments today to be viewed as prejudging them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Whitehouse.
Let me start by
I believe you have a policy, Madam Secretary, that you have to approve all contracts at your department over $100 million?
No, sir. I have a policy in place that I review contracts. My deputy chiefs have the ability to review anything under $5 million. Above that, I evaluate and look at.
Okay. And you do that, I understand, to try to curb waste and abuse of taxpayer money. Is that right?
Yes, sir. In fact, it's been extremely effective. We've saved the taxpayers over $13.2 billion just by evaluating contracts, negotiating lower ones, and canceling ones that aren't necessary to do our duties.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid, and career officials at the department chose who would do those advertising commercials.
And the people that you ended up picking were people who had formerly done your political work back in South Dakota, is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
I think it is.
No, it's not, sir. The individuals who, I believe the careers who they chose were two different media firms. There's been conversation about their subcontractors, but we have no legal authority to look into subcontractors on work like that.
Okay. And you're saying that you're testifying that President Trump approved this ahead of time. Is that my understanding?
We had conversations about making sure that we were telling people.
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it correctly.
Did the president know you were going to do
OMB.
this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That
well, they were
overwhelmingly
effective in your name recognition. I mean, I personally just, I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot. And and I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president, as I do, that you said, Mr. President, here's some ads I've cut, and I'm going to spend $220 million running them, that he would have agreed to that. I don't think Russ Vogt at OMB would have agreed to that. It's something we have to defend. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. My research shows that you did not bid them out, that you pick, in fact, one of the people you picked, the strategy group, Safe America Media was a company formed 11 days before you picked them, and that the strategy group got most of the money, and the head of that is married to your former spokesperson. Look, we all have friends who are qualified. I'm not quibbling with that. It troubles me. A fifth to a quarter of $1 billion of taxpayer money when we're scratching for every penny and we're fighting over rescission packages. I just can't agree with Madam Secretary. Are you still running those ads?
No, Senator, I did not have anything to do with picking those contractors. No politicals at the Department of Homeland Security did.
I understand. Are you
Career
still running
officials
those
followed
ads?
the competitive bid process for
Are you
that.
still running
Everything
those ads?
I think the ads are due to end here in March, I think within a week or
So
two.
they
I'm
are
not sure of the
still
update. The one that is running is focusing on angel families. Have you seen that? It is the one that's talking about this is our why. This is why we work every day.
Okay.
It's for the angel
I've gotta
families
move
and their
on.
victims that need to.
And according to your website, you're also, I'm going to quote here, a longtime Democratic Party activist who served as a member of the 2016 Democratic National Convention's Platform Standing Committee, close quote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You support Hamas, do you not?
Senator, oddly enough, I'm going to say thank you for that question because it demonstrates the purpose of our hearing today in a very
Let's start
effective
first
way.
with a yes or no.
Hamas is a foreign terrorist organization that I do not support, but you asking the executive director of the Arab American Institute that question very much puts the focus on the issue of hate in our country.
Well, I got your answer, and I appreciate it. What is the, you support Hezbollah too, don't you?
Again, I find this line of questioning extraordinarily disappointing,
Is that a
Senator.
no?
That
Or
you
a
have
yes?
you have Arab American constituents that you represent
is
in
that
your great state.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, but my time's limited, and I apologize, but is that a yes or a no?
A yes or no question to do I support Hezbollah? The answer is I don't support violence, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or any other entity that invokes it.
You can't
So
bring
no,
yourself to say no, can you?
No, I can say no. I can say yes.
But
What
you
I can
haven't.
say is
You just
your
can't
line
make
of
yourself do
questioning.
it. Do you
Senator.
support or oppose Iran and their hatred of Jews?
Again, I'm going to emphasize Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, none of them is going to, this
You
discussion.
can't bring yourself to say no, can
Sir,
you?
I don't support.
It's real simple.
Excuse me, I'm going to,
Ian,
if I may, as a Muslim woman, sir, I'm going to tell you I do not support Iran. But what I will tell you is that this conversation.
I'm running out of time. I'm
Okay.
sorry. You called our decision to cut funding. You called our decision to cut fund. Well, first, what's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency?
It's UNRWA, which is the institution that exists to provide services and aid to the nearly 6 million Palestinian refugees.
And you called our decision to cut funding for them, quote, an incredible moral failure, close quote.
That is absolutely correct. But again, I would suggest that conversation is about foreign policy.
We did that because 9 UNRWA staff members were fired for actually helping Hamas on October 7th. Isn't that the case?
I don't believe that that's correct in terms
Let
of...
me ask you one more time. You support Hamas, don't you? You
Sir.
support UNRWA and Hamas, don't you?
Sir,
Please.
I think it's exceptionally disappointing that you're looking at an Arab American witness before you and saying you support Hamas.
You know what's disappointing to me?
I do not support
you can't
Hamas.
Bring yourself
I do
to
not
say
support Hamas
You don't
or
support UNRWA. You don't support Hamas. You don't.
I was very
support
clear in my support for UNRWA.
Hezbollah, and you don't
I
support
oppose-
Iran. You should hide your head in a bag. I want to talk about a serious subject, Mr. President. I want to talk about welfare fraud, taxpayer money. Now, I want to make it clear that I love Minnesota. I love Minnesota. But I do not like people, whether they live in Minnesota or elsewhere, who steal money from the poor. There ought to be a special place. This $1 trillion plus a year that we spend helping our neighbors, when people steal that money, it offends me. When they steal from the poor and they steal from the American taxpayer, it offends me equally. And the folks in Minnesota and elsewhere who stole this money, who took a giant Great Dane whiz down the leg of every taxpayer and poor person in America, every one of them ought to go to jail. There were 4, it looks like so far there are 4 programs. Medicaid, these fictitious corporations would go to restaurants in the community, many of them in the Somali community, and say, here's the deal. I want you to fill out a report saying you fed all these poor people. Of course, you're not feeding anybody. Just lie. And give me the report. And I'll give you a percentage of the money that I'm stealing from the American taxpayer and the people of Minnesota. And that's what they did. But they didn't just limit it to food. It was industrial scale fraud. Next, they moved to health care. They formed, some formed fictitious corporations, companies, saying we're going to deliver I said health care, I meant child care to poor people, homeless people. To Governor Waltz and his agencies and said, give us a bunch of welfare money, Medicaid money give folks who are poor child care. And then the thieves running the fictitious company went to families, many of them in the Somali community, and said, do you have a child who's autistic? If so, we want to sign them up. But if some of the families said, no, we don't have a child who's autistic, the thieves said, don't worry about it. Lie. Tell us you have a child who's autistic. And whether your child is autistic or not, we're not going to provide any services for your children, but we will kick you back some of the money. It's disgusting. So it was in child care, housing, autism, Governor Waltz, food. And some of his agencies said, whoa, maybe we ought to put a stop to this. And they backed off. They said, no more money for a while. Well, fresh hell broke loose. You know what happened? The largest, most powerful, fictitious company, run mostly by people of Somali ancestry, sent an email to the Minnesota state government. And they said that the state agency that was failing to promptly approve new applications and give us new money from, quote, minority-owned businesses, close quote, was going to result in a lawsuit featuring accusations of racism that would be sprawled across the news. If you don't give us our money, we're going to call you racist. Let me say it again. We're spending $1 trillion a year of American taxpayer money to help poor people, provide welfare, and GAO estimates that about at least $250 billion is being stolen every year. We took some baby steps in the One Big Beautiful Bill, as you know, Mr. President. We tightened up eligibility requirements. We're requiring states to check twice a year to make sure people don't lie when they sign up for Medicaid or for food stamps or for housing assistance. We've implemented a work requirement, but we need to do more. We need to do more, and that's why we need to do another reconciliation bill. Now, I hope I'm wrong when I say this. I hope I'm wrong. I invite my Democratic colleagues in the Senate, I love them all, to come forward and help us. But I just know politics, and you do too, Mr. President. A lot of them are going to be reluctant. But we don't need their assistance. We can pass a welfare security bill with all Democratic votes. If I could do it on my own, I would introduce the bill tomorrow. I would go and look at every single state and every single another reconciliation bill. We can to fix the welfare system and stop the stealing. Stop the stealing. And we can do it with all Republican votes. So please, Senator Thune, pretty please, as I've said before, I'm shameless, I'll beg. I'll get down on my knees. John, please bring another reconciliation bill. We can do so much, but we can start with fixing welfare fraud. Please, John, please let us do the bill. I don't want to end on a negative note. I might have hurt my back going down, Mr. President. I don't want to end on a negative note. I love this country. I just think America's the greatest country in all of human history. I do. And the whole world knows it. Everybody wants to come here. When's the last time you heard of somebody trying to sneak? We got people stealing from poor people and laughing about it. and politicians participating in it. And the water's not, and Washington's got to do its role, its part to fix this. But the water's not going to clear up for America. The water's not going to clear up for America until we get the pigs out of the creek. Let's go get the pigs out of the creek. Please, Senator Thune, please let us do another reconciliation bill. Please lead with welfare reform. We can do it. You can do it. I know you can.
As the lights dim in the Senate chamber, one truth remains unshakable. The era of managed jargon and unanswered questions has officially hit a brick wall. Senator Kennedy's performance today wasn't just another political debate. It was a long overdue reality check for the elites. It was a reminder that while Washington plays games with billions, the American taxpayer is the one left holding the bill. But for the first time in years, the people are finally fighting back. When Kennedy says it's finally over, he isn't just talking about a single hearing. He's talking about the end of the line for those who thought they were untouchable. We saw the stuttering, we saw the panicked glances, and most importantly, we saw the receipts. This takedown will go down as the moment the system was caught red-handed. But the real question is, will this be the final blow, or is there an even bigger exposure waiting just around the corner? We want to hear from you. Was Kennedy's drunk sailor metaphor his most savage moment yet, or was the "I don't believe you" line the final nail in the coffin? DC wants you to stay silent, but your voice is the only thing they truly fear. Drop a comment below with the word "savage" if you stand with Kennedy today. We read every single comment, and we want to know, are you tired of the betrayal? If you found this breakdown valuable, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel right now. We are tracking every move Kennedy makes, and our next investigation is going to expose something even more shocking, something the administration is desperate to keep hidden. You do not want to miss what we've uncovered for the next episode. The game is over for them, but for us, the fight for truth is just beginning. Click the video on your screen right now to see the viral takedown that DC tried to ban. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.